What is up? It is Rob Dog here, and I haven't done a video in 5 whole months. Like, what the hell, dude? Get your ass in gear. I'd like to blame it all on university, and while I have been really busy with my work, I've also been incredibly lazy. I've had a few weeks off, and I just haven't done anything. Just laze around, play some games, and have some social interactions here and there. So to counteract the laziness that I fell into, I decided to do a larger-than-normal project. A sequel to my top 10 cartoon intros of the modern era. Today, I'll be looking at my top 10 cartoon intros of the 2000s. The 2000s hold a special place in my heart. While I did grow up with a lot of 90s cartoons, I don't hold it in the same regard, and that's mostly because the 2000s is the era I grew up in. As far as 2000s culture goes, don't really ask me. Back then, I wasn't really exposed to it. All I needed was my Power Rangers toys, KTV, Cartoon Network, my PS2, and my Disney VHS collection. Most of my afternoons were spent being glued to that TV, watching Cartoon Network, only ever changing the channel at 5 p.m. when Dragon Ball Z was playing. Until Nickelodeon was officially a thing in South Africa in 2008, I watched most of my Nickelodeon shows on a block called KTV, which ran from 2 to 5 every weekday. Disney animation was also lacking for me. My Disney fill came from the movies, so I wasn't that fussed over it. With my trip down memory lane, I think I've made it clear that I have a lot of nostalgia towards the cartoons from the 2000s. It was much more difficult for me to remain unbiased as I was in the modern list. There were easy cuts such as The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, which was a pretty meh theme song, but there was also painful ones like Atomic Betty, which I loved growing up and I really wanted to talk about it. But I had to put my nostalgia aside because once again, I'm not talking about the show, just the theme song. My personal feelings about a show should not and will not get in the way of this list. There's one on the list that I didn't know about until a friend showed it to me. But enough of my rambling, let's get into this. Once again, I'm only looking at cartoons that officially aired from 2000 to 2009. The 90s will get their turn. And don't forget that these are my personal opinions, not really the top 10 best theme songs, just the ones I like the most. How much I enjoy them was the most important factor which determined whether or not they were on this list and their positions. Anyway, let's get into this with number 10. My number 10 goes to the cartoon I've never seen before. Chalk Zone. Chalk Zone is filled with a lot of visual goodness. Most of the art has been drawn by Chalk and gives the intro that unique style. It also introduces us to what I'm assuming is the show's concept, where Rudy can materialize whatever he draws in chalk. There's certainly a lot of creativity here. There's a lot of action that gets stepped up as soon as the song starts picking up. Speaking of which, Chalk Zone's theme song only has 5 words. Rudy's got the chalkin' zone. Now, you would think a song with only 5 words that goes on for 45 seconds would get really old really quick. But the creators knew what they were doing. The song starts off slow, and if continued like this, it would not have been that great. But after 15 seconds, the guitar kicks in and things start getting real. It keeps picking up and the guitar riff just completes the song. The more intense part of the song also brings up more frantic visuals, with everything picking up the pace and getting a little intense. Chalk Zone remains at number 10 only because of its limited lyric pool. They use it to the best of their abilities, but unfortunately, they can only do so much considering what's coming up. Chalk Zone didn't stand a chance. However, it was good enough to win a 3-way battle for 10th place. It wouldn't be number 10 on this list if it wasn't a fantastic intro, and it did get me interested in Chalk Zone, so it did its job. Oh baby, that engine revving still gives me raging hard-ons to this day. Yeah, number 9 goes to Megas XLR, mecha anime made by Americans. The visuals of this intro are fantastic with fluid animation and a lot of testosterone pumping action. It also does a good job of letting you know what you're getting yourself into, as well as giving us a little look at the characters' personalities. Coop being a fat ass and eating, Kira kicking ass and taking names, and Jamie running away like a little bitch and sucking with women. I can relate to Jamie a lot. As stated before, there's a lot of testosterone pumping action with Megas punching the shit out of everyone, and even doing an elbow drop on all the enemies at the end. The song, Chicks Dig Giant Robots, complements the visual goodness perfectly. The electric guitar has a heavy presence in the song, making everything feel a lot more hardcore, and the revs complement it perfectly. While the lyrics don't tell us much about the show, they certainly are a lot of fun to listen to, bringing a lot of energy into this intro. Everything comes together beautifully and gets me pumped up for the show. Hell, even when I wasn't expecting the show to get me hyped. Hell, even when I was expecting the show to get ugh. Everything comes together beautifully and gets me pumped up for the show. Hell, even when I knew I wasn't going to watch the show, it still got me hyped and got my blood pumping.
Nice.
In a world full of monsters and demons, June is the only one who sees them.
Well, that was quite a shift, wasn't it? Number 8 goes to Juniper Lee. Honestly, I was worried that I wouldn't be able to be unbiased and that I would put this on the list just because I absolutely loved it as a kid. I'm happy to say that isn't the case. The more I listened to it, the more I fell in love with it. Juniper Lee is mellower than Megas but just as energetic. The action isn't as prominent as it was in Megas, but it's still here. June isn't punching as much stuff as Megas, but she's still kicking ass. There's a lot of variety in the enemies, and we get to see June doing more teenage stuff like being bored in class or rocking out with her brothers. There is one thing that makes me cringe though, and it's this part. Ugh, I feel bad for her nails. As music goes, it's also dialed down. Instead of rock, we get pop. The guitar takes center stage once again, but it's nowhere near as testosterone pumping as Megas. And as a whole, the song is a lot catchier, although there's one thing that throws me off, and it's those beeps at the start. Really don't see how they fit in, but it's not a big issue. The lyrics here tell us about the show, somewhat. They tell us that June is the only one who can see these monsters, and that she'd rather be doing something else. But that's not a bad thing, since I don't think that there's much that they can tell us, and the goes towards the middle and the end of the song just increase the energy. Juniper Lee's intro is fun to watch, it's catchy, and overall, it's a great listen, and I love it to death. I should really rewatch this show. Yeah, I'm too lazy to do that.
You can't stop the girl.
Some people bowl for fun, others bowl for soup.
There's 104 days of summer vacation, and school comes along just to end it.
Ah, see? It made sense. It's sorta. Number 7 goes to Phineas and Ferb. We've moved on from action shows to slice of life shows, and I'm using slice of life very loosely. Phineas and Ferb doesn't have the energetic action from the previous two, but that's not to say it's bad. Far from it. It's not an action show, but it's its own style by showing us all the creative things Phineas and Ferb will be doing while they're on vacation. Locating Frankenstein's brain, discovering something that doesn't exist, or building a rocket. Then there's other activities that don't get mentioned, as well as a neat slideshow during the climax of the song. There's also penguins playing instruments. I love penguins. In fact, the best way to get to my heart is to show me a penguin doing something cute. And that's how this intro won me over, along with all its other great qualities, of course. The music is a middle ground between Juniper Lee and Megas. Not quite as testosterone pumping as Megas, nor as catchy as Juniper Lee, but a solid middle ground. Guitar, once again, takes center stage, and again, it's a middle ground here. I love how the lyrics mostly match with whatever Phineas and Ferb are doing on screen. They're also the show's framing device, telling us about summer vacation and wondering what we're able to do during summer vacation. Phineas and Ferb does its job wonderfully, and I will miss the show, even though I still haven't really seen the ending. Really should do that, but once again, I'm really lazy, so I'm going to move on.
Cause Phineas and Ferb are gonna do it all.
Mom! Phineas and Ferb are making a title sequence!
If If you thought I'd only put American cartoons here, then you're wrong. And yes, this is Western, it's French-Japanese, and I'm counting it as a Western cartoon. And if you got a problem with that, I got 2 words for you. Anyway, on to Oban. This may sound off topic, but I swear it's relevant. One of my favorite games growing up is Ratchet and Clank 2. I grew up playing that game a lot, and I mean a lot. One of my favorite things was the hover card races, and I just thought it looked so cool. And would you look at that? Oban is racing with hover cards. And thanks for showing me this, buddy. Visuals, it's fantastic. Great animation, and there's a lot happening on screen. We're back to testosterone pumping action, but not on the same level as Megas. This time we've got races, and this really appeals to me as someone who grew up loving racing games. I love this intense action and the short little scene with the danger flashing in the female lead's vehicle, and that startup with a traditional anime shot of the camera shooting up to the sky, revealing its title. Another moment I love is that robot that's about to cut one of the cars in half with its mighty blade. There's a lot going on here, and it's appealing to my inner child. Musically, oh boy, it's cheesy and freaking epic. The artist is really putting his all into the song to hype up the viewers, and while it's not quite as hype as Megas, it still gets me pumped. The lyrics don't tell us much about the show, and they're not the best. Quite cheesy, but I still love them. The intro kinda makes me hate DSTV for not giving us Jetix. A little Robin would have eaten this up. A big Robin would too, but he's too fat and lazy to do anything. I'll tell you what I'm not too lazy to do though. Tell you that Owan's intro is awesome AF. And move on to number 5.
This is it, now it's all on the line. Never say never, never gonna stop us now.
Number 5 goes to Total Drama Island. Now, I could have picked pretty much any opening from Total Drama up to Pacateo Island, because after that, they shortened it, and Total Drama Redonkulous Race has an entirely different theme song. But I just went with Total Drama Island, mostly because Total Drama Island was my favorite of the Total Drama series. I don't think that really mattered in choosing one for this list though. Total Drama Island's visuals revolve around the campers, showing us their personalities as well as the interactions with other campers. There's no real action here. It's just the characters being themselves, and I really like that. Showing us the characters and their interactions is a nice way to counter all the action that's been shown off in the other intros on this list. And they really do this well. I can tell that Lashana and Heather absolutely hate each other, Jeff and Bridget like each other, and there's some heavy sexual tension between Courtney and Duncan. Gwen and Trent coming closer to each other along with Gwen's smile is absolutely adorable, until Cody cockblocks Trent. What a dick. There's also a lot going on here that I absolutely love. Adding to that is the song, I Wanna Be Famous. I love the song. It's catchy, upbeat, and just fun to listen to. The guitar once again takes center stage and really gives the song life and energy. The nods towards the end always get me bobbing my head. Lyrics don't tell us much about the show, but they still fit the overall narrative of the show. The show is about teenagers trying to be famous, so what's better than a song about wanting to be famous? Total Drama really surprised me. While I knew that I loved the intro, I didn't expect to love it as much as I did, especially with all the other strong contenders I had, and most of them were action shows that had a lot more exciting visuals and more dynamic animation. But Total Drama does so much right that it deserves its spot on its list. Alright, on to the top 4. Now, these 4 were in a league of their own. Total Drama, as great as it is, couldn't compete with number 4. And what's number 4?
When there's trouble, you know who to call. Teen Titans.
Number 4 goes to Teen Titans. Even though it's an action show, like many themes on this list, there isn't much action in this intro. In fact, there's barely any. The Teen Titans don't really fight anyone, nor do they do much. Robin's kicking, Raven appears out of a portal, Beast Boy just transforms, Cyborg goes for a punch, and Starfire is firing whatever it is out of her hands. I apologize for not knowing, I've only seen a few episodes of the show. With no real action, Teen Titans goes for the Total Drama approach by giving us a little insight into the characters, but they only show us their powers and nothing else important. Not a bad direction, but not any more interesting than any other themes on this list. It's not just visuals though, There's also music, and oh boy, we have a lovely J-pop song sung by the band Puffy Amiyumi, who actually had their own show. It was alright. The song itself is fantastic. I don't listen to any J-genre of music, but if anything like this, I may have to, like the filthy weeb that I am. Lyric-wise, it does its job. Tell us about the Teen Titans and how they're on top of this shit. They even do those name drops right. Usually when a show shouts its name, it doesn't turn out well. But here, it's not overused and they use it in the right places. So while Teen Titans isn't as great as Total Drama visually, its song more than makes up for it.
Teen Titans Go! 1, 2, 3, 4, go! Teen Titans!
You know what you'll never escape? Scooby-Doo. It has so many spin-offs, movies, and other forms of media. And guess what? It's on this list as well. If I had to choose my favorite Scooby-Doo theme song, it would be A Pup Named Scooby-Doo.
Scooby-Doo, it's Scooby-Doo.
But that's 80s, so we'll have to go with my second favorite.
What's the Scooby-Doo coming after you? We're gonna solve that mystery.
What's New Scooby-Doo? In 1 minute, this intro pretty much shows me all of the Scooby-Doo tropes. Shaggy and Scooby eating, the two of them being scared shitless, classic chase scenes, monsters being in disguise, it's all here folks. This intro is also a lot more energetic than Teen Titans, and if you know anything about me, I love energetic intros. There's a lot going on here to get me excited and keep me interested. Combine that with everything that I said and great animation and you have a fantastic package. Now onto the music. Oh boy, where do I begin? Well, how about the song? This is one of the catchiest theme songs I've ever heard. If I had to rank it, it would be second place. I find it catchier than DuckTales. The song has a lot of energy. Guitar taking center stage along with the drums just makes it sound so energetic and just gets my head bopping. It's also the nanas, hey, total drama, towards the end and I go into full headbanging mode. Now you add all this musical goodness with the visual goodness and you get one tasty opening. It's fantastic and I love it to death. And now you're probably wondering why this isn't my favorite. Simply put, I just like A Pup Named Scooby-Doo's intro just a tiny bit more. Now I know what you're thinking. What could possibly top that? Well,
He's a phantom.
Danny Phantom can top it. We're back to action shows and it's like we never left. Danny Phantom gives us what Teen Titans didn't. Our main hero kicking ass and taking names for a few seconds. But that's still more than what Teen Titans gave us. All they did was look badass. Danny Phantom's intro gives us a lot of information about the show. We start off with some badass shots, shows us how Danny got his powers and that he's being bullied. We get a bit of Danny kicking ass during the song's climax. We also get some of Danny's powers, namely becoming ethereal, being invisible, and flying. For our theme song, we have a TV rap. And it's not a hot cringy mess. The song gives us Danny's origin story in only 45 seconds and the rapper doesn't suck at his job. One thing I really love is how the song and the visuals go hand in hand. Most of the time, the songs worked well and they fit with what the intro was showing us. But in Danny Phantom's case, the song is telling us what's happening on screen and it does this fantastically. They're not talking down to the audience, they're telling us a story. Danny Phantom is fantastic, but second place isn't first. We got one more to look at, and we'll find out what that is right after these honorable mentions.
For me and you. He's cool, he's hot like a frozen sun.
American Dragon, Jake Long. This was part of my intense three-way battle for 10th place. I really liked this intro. I just felt that it was missing something. It had a few jokes and gave us some insight into Jake's character as well as a few interactions. The song also told us enough about the show, but it lacked the intensity, excitement, and energy that Chalk Zone had, even though I liked the animation and song more. You can consider this number 11. It was close, but it just fell short.
Fight the criminal, chase the bad guy.
Static Shock. Speaking of the 2000s, here we can see a relic from the 2000s. Lil Romeo. Honestly, I'm not too familiar with Lil Romeo. That was a Bow Wow guy. but I thought he did a great job on this track. Static Shock's intro has a lot of great action and looks fantastic, but like American Dragon, it just wasn't good enough to make the cut. That doesn't mean it's not great, far from it. It beat 30 other themes. It just couldn't make the cut.
3, 2, 1.
Got a blast!
Jimmy Neutron, Boy Genius. Once again, we have one that just wasn't good enough. However, if I'm being honest, this is probably my least favorite out of the 15 themes. That's the top 10 plus these 5 honorable mentions. I do love it and I think it looks great, but the singer sounds so... he's either sleepy, stoned, or bored, or all of the above. It's great, but the singing just bothers me a little bit.
Call me up, I'm your girl. Toughest chick in the alien world.
Atomic Betty. Honestly, the best way I can put Atomic Betty is that it's just a weaker Juniper Lee. Not the show, the theme song. It's shorter, it's catchy, but not on the same level as Juniper Lee. The action isn't as good, and it's just not as fun to listen to. As fun. I still love this one to death, and I love listening to it. I just prefer Juniper Lee. Wayside. This was the third theme in that heated three-way battle, and it almost won. This intro has an absolutely fantastic song. Slow to start, but when it gets in gear, it's awesome. It's upbeat, energetic, catchy as hell, and fun to listen to. The more I listened to it, the more I really wanted to put it on this list. The more I listened, the more I watched, however, the more I realized that it doesn't belong on this list. Yeah, the animation is, most of the theme song is about the school. It's not super exciting, but it's creative and fun. But when the characters themselves come in, eesh, they're ugly. Usually intros have better animation than the actual shows themselves, but these are just awful. Fantastic song, but horrible visuals. Sorry, Wayside. And with that out of the way, we can finally hit my top pick. And number 1 is...
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm your basic average girl.
my favorite intro from the 2000s is none other than Kim Possible. This intro just does everything right for me. It's an amalgamation of everything I loved from all the other intros on this list. Action, character interactions, gives us some insight into our characters, etc. This intro blends Kim's normal life and her superhero life perfectly. We get to see Kim doing a lot of normal teenage girl stuff, like cheerleading, acting cute, and rushing to class. It's got a lot of great action where we get to see her kicking ass and taking names, and looking like an utter badass. There's some great comedy with Ron being his incompetent self, and Rusev being his awesome self. We even get to see a little of Wade and a few nods to the show. There's a second where we can see Kim getting jealous at Ron, which happens in the episode where they both get jobs at Bueno Nacho. And we get to see Shigo and Kim squaring off like they usually do. The song Call Me Beat Me is just a masterpiece. Okay, I'm exaggerating, but that doesn't change the fact that the song is fantastic. It's unbelievably catchy, it's upbeat, and I can't help but sing along to it. There were times where I just stopped typing the script just to sing along. It also does a great job of telling us who Kim Possible is and what she does. In the visuals, it has everything that I always enjoy seeing. The song is just a treat to listen to and has lodged itself into my head. There's no doubt in mind, Kim Possible is 100% my favorite cartoon intro of the 2000s. Hell, it's probably my favorite of all time. But it has some stiff competition with Avengers, Earth's Mightiest Heroes. And there's still the 90s, so who knows. But for now, Kim Possible can rest easy as my favorite theme of the 2000s.
Or trouble, I'm there on the double. You know that you always can call Kim Possible. So what's the sitch? Call me, beat me if you wanna reach me.
And there you have it. I had a lot of fun making this list, and once again, these were all just my opinions. They are not now, nor will they ever be facts. We're all different, and it's entirely possible that none of these would be on your personal top 10. So let's just respect one another's opinions. Going back to all of these theme songs that I grew up with really made me want to watch all these shows again. And I definitely want to check out some of the ones that I've never seen before. In fact, I'm going to go do that. And I'm going to go back into a hole for 5 months, and then you'll see my next video then. Okay, I kid. I'm going to try and become more productive. Second semester started about a week ago, but I will do my best to stay on top of things and make more videos. With that said, I'll be signing off. I hope you all enjoy this video, and I will see you in the next one. Have a great day/night, and take care.